Okay, so today I just want to show you how to make a nice table with some details inside of that table, and maybe we'll add some really cool CSS stuff we haven't seen before, maybe some more advanced things. So the first thing I did was I made a new Notepad++ file. I got I always want W3 Schools open in the background because that's going to help me solve all of my problems that I run into, and I can copy and paste a lot of code from there and get ideas from them as well. This is a great site to do that. I always start on the HTML section and just copy and paste their basic code there so that I have kind of a template for my own website. So I'm going to save that as table.html. Now, could I save it in here under test? Yeah, sure. I might make a new folder in my HTML projects folder called table, just for myself. I mean, so that I could stay organized. The problem is you start making a lot of style files and then you can end up overwriting them because you can't have more than one file called style in the same folder or it'll get overwritten. Anywho, I'll call this table.html. That way Notepad++ will know it's a website file and it color codes it, and if I run it and launch it in Chrome, I get that boring website that I always get. Okay, so how do I make a table? Well, if I go to HTML under the section tables, it will give you lots of ideas on how to make a table. Here's a cool table right here. Right at the beginning, you can even look in that code and see how they did it. I'm sure the code's going to be pretty intense. You can see kind of the content of the thing. I think you could change it, right? And you could even see the CSS. They added the CSS in the actual file itself because it's running from the web, so they don't want to make two files. But I'm going to, you know what I might do? I might just copy all of this code for their table and steal their info. Okay? Why not? And then try to make sense of it. So I'm going to get rid of these two things here. I'm just going to paste that. Okay? Looks like people's names, country, contact, company, something like that. I'm just going to have a look and see what some of these tags do. Okay, so there's my table. My table does not look as nice as their table. That's for sure, right? But that's okay for now. We can add our own stuff later. Let's go to the actual code itself and see what's happening here. It looks like there's a gigantic tag for table. That makes sense to let HTML know you're going to be making a table. It's been closed here, so everything else is inside of it. Okay, good. TR, I see a whole bunch of TRs here. There's one here and then it's closed there. There's one here and that's closed there. It's one here closed, one here closed, and one here. So it appears to me that TR, if I had to guess, let me minimize this a little bit. If I had to guess, I would guess that TR probably stands for table row. And you're going to tell your table that you want to make a row, and then you want to enter stuff in. Now, how do they enter stuff in? This one says TH, TH, and TH. So they've entered three things into their row, and then they go on to the next row. They enter another three things, but this thing says TD instead of TH. But those are the next three things. The only difference I can see between this row here, which is like right here, or sorry, right here, and the next row is that it's bolded and centered, okay? So it looks like they're making rows, adding stuff in rows with TD tag. So I'm guessing that stands for table data. And the one exception is table H, table heading, which makes it like a kind of a bold. Okay, so making a table is actually kind of just building it up row by row. Kind of like an ordered list or an unordered list a little bit the same way, right? You write UL and then you start writing LI, 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 and it starts making the list for you. Here you write TR for row and then you start adding stuff with TH or TD depending on, I would say TH maybe is always the first row, so you get that kind of bold look to the first row. And it actually tells you what kind of stuff is, what each kind of column means. But other than that, everything else is TD. So that's good. Okay? Now, that is a very boring table, and theirs is much nicer. They have a lot of CSS formatting stuff in here. So I'm gonna borrow some of that stuff. Okay. Let's go and make a CSS file then for this table. Okay. The first thing I'm gonna do is go File, New. I'm going to maybe just write one word in there. If you don't write a word, it won't let you save it for some reason, but I'm going to save that as style. Always good to call it style as long as it's in its own folder. If not, you might have to call it style 2 or style 3 or style 4. I'm going to call it type Cascade Style Sheet and hit save. Okay? And I'm going to borrow, in air quotes, some of their stuff. What's that?
Can you call it like style 10?
Yeah, you could call it whatever you want. I'll show you how to link it to your website in a second. So if I go copy here, for instance, right? Let's say I want to borrow this one here. And that CSS says, do all this stuff with the table. I don't really know what all this stuff means, but I want to do it. If I run my website, nothing will happen, even though I have made a style file. And I still have my boring old website, right? Zoomed in a little bit. The reason why it's not doing anything is because my website, my HTML file, does not know about this style.css file. It does not automatically, it's a computer, it's not going to automatically go and look for a file and assume you want one. It needs to be told exactly, explicitly, that you have a file that you want to link to. So if you want to know how to do that, you go to the CSS section of W3 Schools, and it's always under How To. I believe Introduction talks a little bit about it. Syntax gives you a little idea of how to set them up. How To is how you get it linked. And I usually just go in here and I copy this line. Okay, it says external styles, and ours is external, it's in a separate file. That's what that means. It means you need to put this line of code in the head section of your HTML page. That's what I always do. I just copy and paste it. And I always have to go back and I've been teaching this course for like 5 years or something, and I never remember this line. I always have to copy and paste it. So, but mine's called style and not my style. So hopefully now this website has direction to know where this file is. As long as they're in the same folder, it'll find it. If I run it in Chrome, it should update my table a little bit. Doesn't really do too much, does it? Boo boo. Does it make it look any different at all? I guess it kind of changed the font. I don't know. Style.css. I think I just forgot to save it, guys. That's why it didn't do anything. There we go. That's better, hey? Just forgot to save it. So, it spaced it out. Let's see what it did. Okay, just by looking at the style file. Looks like it added a font, border collapse. Not sure what that means. I could look that up in CSS though. If I wanted to know what that means. I could go to borders here and see like what border collapse means. Okay. There'll be tons of stuff. You could even search, right? I could even go search and say, what does border collapse do? Collapse. That's what it said on there. CSS border collapse properties. Setting the collapsing border models for 2 tables. Try more. Not really sure what it means. Collapses the border into a single border when possible? Doesn't really give an example, does it? Oh. I guess it kind of it who knows? Wonder why they put that in there for this example, but whatever. What if I go, where did I grab this thing? What else did I want to do? Oh, okay, here we go. I'm going to copy this one here. This is going to give it a border, hopefully. Maybe I'll add that to my CSS file. Okay, boom. Save it. Let's see what happens. Website. Maybe, oh yeah, there you go. You get a cool little border. It's starting to look nicer already. The other thing that happened was it looks like they aligned all the text, which was nice as well because now everything is off to the left and it looks a little more organized. What's the last little CSS addition that they did here? And this one's cool. This one's more advanced where they made every other row gray. Look how they did it. They went to they did this line here. So they write TR for table row, every row, but then they write colon, nth child, and then in brackets even. That must mean every even row. Make it a background color of that. I didn't know you could do that, but it looks like you can. So when I update that, every other row is gray now. So that's a really nice looking table. There's one cool thing you can do as well that I did last time on my recipe website is there's a command called hover, and when you hover over a row, you could set the background color. I think this is cool too. So I'm going to add this as well. But I'm going to add this to every other row. Can I do that? Or every row probably, right? Let's copy this line of code, but I'll do it with my rows. So, and there's a million things you can do in CSS, guys. There's, you know, if you have time and you want to really, if you're really interested in making websites, you can go down and look how to make drop-down menus and stuff like that. Look at this one. Drops down. Picture. This picture turns into a bigger picture, and then all the code is there and to look at as well. So there's a cool one about website layout. There's advanced. There's like transformations and shadows and text effects and anything you could possibly want to do. We'll keep it kind of simple in this class, but it doesn't have to be. So I want to hover over something and I want it to be colored, but I don't want it to be A, which stands for link, so I'm going to just hit TR for hover. That should make my background color of my rows yellow. I don't want yellow though, so I'm actually going to go here and pick a cool color that I like. So I'm going to pick this color here. And this one looks good to me right here, so I'm just going to copy those weird letters and numbers. Those are called hexadecimal numbers, by the way, and they represent colors, RGB values. But I'm just going to copy and paste that weird combo of letters and numbers there. Hopefully that will update my website so that I can get some colors when I hover over a row. Let's see. Whoa. Simple as that, eh? Isn't that a nice table? Okay, so just by copying some code off of W3 Schools and being a little bit smart about looking through their code and trying to figure out what it does. I don't need to understand every little piece of it, right? But kind of playing with the code and changing it up. Like I could change this color here from gray to, this would look terrible, but if I wrote yellow here, right? Every other row on my website would be bright yellow. That looks awful, but you get the idea. Just kind of taking W3 Schools code, playing with it, trying to learn how it works, right? We're not going to be able to learn every gory detail from this website, but we really just want to learn how to figure stuff out on our own, get on the web, look how other people did it, play with their code, and learn ourselves, okay? So that's kind of the goal of this course in general, trying to figure stuff out on your own, using the web, getting help from others, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so your recipe website should have a table at the bottom, and you're actually even going to put links in there. How the heck would I put a link inside of a table? It's not hard to do. If I wanted the word Germany to be a link, I would just put the code for a link in here. I think it's like A, right? And you write ref equals something like that. Close that up. You could write the word Google. You could have a link to Google in your website. Is it www.google.com? Is that how it works? Let's look and see if that puts a link in my table. Boom. Google. Oh, I can't click on it. Why? I can't remember exactly how the link one works. Okay, so I forget how link works. What do? I go to HTML code and look up link. And I copy their link. Oh, it's href, and I put ref. Href. Okay. All right, run that website. Now I got a link in my table. How easy was that? You think it's gonna go to Google? Ugh. Do I have to write like URL? Something like that? HTTP colon slash? Probably. Slash. Let's try that. Google. Hey, there you go. I just put a link in my table. Okay? So that's how you get a nice table going. Yours is going to have recipes in there with ratings and links, and continue working on that for today, okay? And get your history of computing website done as well. And then I think that's the last website we're going to make. We will have a test on HTML. The test will consist of some true or false questions, some matching, just some basic knowledge about HTML code, and then you'll also have to code a very short little website, give in a bunch of photos, and you have to make a table. Okay, so that will be the test for this HTML section when we wrap it up this week. Okay, so get to work on that. If you have any questions, concerns, let me know. I'll post this on YouTube.